So I am not a native to Arizona, but 30 years is a long time, and I thought I would take some time to reflect on that today. In my 30 years, I've seen a lot of changes, both good and bad, but I do appreciate the time that I have been here, even though I have had my complaints. But today I wanted to come up with a list of 10 things that I've learned in my time here about living in Phoenix, Arizona, that is honest, educational, and hopefully a little fun for you guys if you're thinking about making the move. And stick around to the end because there might be a few in there that you might learn something from that are new, and I might pop in an extra bonus one in the end. So let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time here and you're looking for a fresh, honest perspective about what it's like living here in the Phoenix area, good or bad. If that's you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you can be notified anytime we post a new video. My name is Greg, and we have people reaching out to us every single day who are looking to make the move. We absolutely love helping every single one of you, and so give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back when it comes to moving here to Arizona. All right, so let's talk about 30 years of reflection, and even it's saying it out loud is kind of strange for me. It feels like time flies so quickly, and to think about being here for 30 years, and I'm 47 years old. I came out here in 1993 when I was halfway through my junior year in high school. And, you know, I kind of feel like a native at this point since I've spent the majority of my life out here. But, you know, I do come from a couple other different environments. I was born in California. I was born in Northern California. My family went to Colorado in probably 1979. So I had a short time in California, spent the majority of my childhood growing up in Fort Collins, Colorado, a completely different environment from, you know, what's going on here down in the Phoenix area. And I remember the time of making that big change. It was a big time in my life. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I left a lot of drama in Colorado to come down here and start a fresh new life here in Arizona. And it's changed my life in a lot of positive ways. If you guys have seen some of my other videos, you know that as you're here for a while, you find things to complain about. And I'm going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about, you know, a list of things that when I reflect back some of the things I've learned, and I'm trying to come up with stuff that if you're making the move out here, some things that are educational but a little bit fun, and some things that you might enjoy. So let's get into the list, and let me know your feedback. I'd love to hear from you guys as well. Comment as we go through. All right, so let's start off with number one here. I want to kind of combine a list of things that might be common misperceptions, maybe some rumors, and also some things that might have a certain amount of truth, but maybe a little bit off depending on your perspective. So the first one I came up with: dry heat is better than humidity, but it still sucks. And what I mean by that is, yes, we do have a dry heat in Arizona. We do have a dry climate. I would say that it is much, much better than going through times in humidity. I know I have family on the East Coast. I've spent time on the East Coast. I've gone to Houston. I've dealt with some of the humidity from certain parts of the country that, man, you just step outside your door and you're just like, you just took a shower and then you walk outside and you're like drenched again. And you feel like, why did I even do that? So yes, our dry summers here are better than humidity, but man, you know, when you get to 110 plus for feels like 3 months straight, it's still just a pain in the butt. Everybody knows the heat is a challenge, is one of the biggest challenges when dealing with Arizona. But I think when people are thinking about dry heat versus humidity, yes, it is a positive, but it's not that great. And we still have a little bit of humidity here and there when we have our monsoon seasons come in. So it's not like you totally get rid of it altogether, but that's number one on my list. Next up on my list is one that as I grow a little older, I do appreciate it more. The longer I live here, the more I appreciate the beauty of the desert. And since I came down here from Colorado, I've always complained about the lack of greenery. I don't know how many times in my mind I think about, like, when you're flying into Sky Harbor, when you're flying into Phoenix and you look down and you're like, wow, that just looks horrible. Like, there's so many areas that I just remember going where you have greenery everywhere and that type of thing. But as the more time I've spent in Arizona, the more I do appreciate some of the aspects of the desert that do have a lot of beauty. You do see it a lot on, you know, a lot of great photographers take some amazing shots of what Arizona has to offer in the desert environment and climate, the scenery, and everything that goes along with it. And as you spend some time touring the state as a whole, you kind of get to see some things that you might not see anywhere else you go. I appreciate that a lot now. It's something I've grown to appreciate. I always will miss going back to areas that have much more greenery and, going into just a huge amount of trees and green grass and like places, we just got back from Minneapolis over the summer to visit family, and it's amazing. Like, I love going to places like that during the summer and enjoying my time there. But I do appreciate what's going on here in the desert and all of our sunsets, all the mountain views that we get, everything that goes along with it. All right, so here's one probably a few people can relate to, and that is the longer you live here, the worse that it gets. And what I mean by that is a lot of people forget how good they have it. And I include myself in that as well, because again, being out here 30 years, you tend to start finding things to complain about rather than appreciate. For people that have spent their entire lives here, or for people that are like me and have been out here for a long period of time, the heat just starts to wear on you, and you complain about it, or you complain about the traffic, or you complain about the cost of living, and you complain about all the things that have changed, especially with the number of people that have come into Arizona and wanted to be here. And you especially see this type of stuff on social media comments where people are just constantly bashing everything that's going on. And what I see in commonality is a lot of people just look back at what Arizona used to be and want to complain about what it is now. And so that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, when you're out here for as long as you are, or a certain many of us are, that you just start to complain a little bit more, versus the people who come here who are new here or haven't been here that long, you love it. So all the people that are new here absolutely love being here, and just have a new, fresh perspective because they're comparing it to what they used to have. So it's an interesting dynamic, but definitely something you guys will find as you talk to people here or watch the comments. All right, so here's one that I definitely talk to a lot of people about, and depending on your situation, and sometimes it's easier said than done, but for my time here, I find that I really prefer living in the center of everything than being on the outskirts. And what I mean by that is when I first got into real estate back in 2004, I moved out to Queen Creek, and it was a completely different situation than what it is now. Queen Creek has grown so much. There's been a lot of development, and it's a different dynamic altogether. But I worked and lived in Queen Creek. I worked in Maricopa. I worked in Buckeye. I worked in Casa Grande. And I finally, after living in Queen Creek for 5 years, moved into Central Phoenix. And, I've lived in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Chandler, Queen Creek, Mesa. I lived in every single city in the East Valley. But living in Phoenix has been, I think, the best of all of those when I kind of reflect on everything. Depending on your budget, sometimes it'll allow for it, sometimes it won't. You're also looking potentially at older homes, that type of thing. When it comes to, a lot of people like new homes, those tend to be a little bit more affordable on the outskirts. But when you're thinking about what you want for your day-to-day lifestyle and how close you want to be to certain things, and being, just that's what I try to have conversations about with people when they're thinking about making the move here, is like, look, there's going to be certain homes that you look at that you like, but I really want you to think about your day-to-day life and how that looks, because to me, your location will always be a little bit more important than finding that newer home. Everybody's different. That's just how I look at it, though. All right, the next thing that comes to my mind here is that traffic actually isn't all that bad when you're comparing to other places, but everybody hates the drivers here. And it's a combination of people coming from so many different areas and all mixing together, and the fact that some people can go really fast and some people drive really slow, and everybody is like super defensive, and everybody's like trying to do whatever they can to beat that next person next to them. I mean, the craziness of what's going on here is, it's just fun. I think about when it rains here. That's when it's the worst. Like, if it rains here in the Phoenix area, like, that's when like all hell breaks loose, because nobody knows what to do. Some people drive real slow. Other people don't even care that it's raining, and they're just like flying around all over the place. Our traffic or the amount of traffic actually kind of makes things worse sometimes, because people flow mostly pretty freely. And with that comes the ability to kind of drive really fast and that type of thing. So it's a crazy environment here, as I've got a lot of beeps behind me here. But people, you'll always find that, like, nobody likes the other drivers around you, no matter what's going on. And I'm sure the driver next to you hates you too. So I'm sure that happens to me all the time. All right, so here's one that a lot of people don't really talk about. I don't think Arizona is known for, but especially when you're coming into Phoenix, but that's mountain views. And I'm not talking about mountain views like you might find up in Colorado, like if you live in Denver or Fort Collins, whatever, like anything like that. But we have, throughout the entire Phoenix metro area, we have little mountain ranges that offer a lot of places, like some cool, number one, cool places to hike, cool views from your yard. There's a lot of communities that kind of are built up around these mountain ranges, and they're all over. You're going to find them here in the central part of Phoenix. I live right next to Camelback Mountain here in the lower Arcadia area and around Scottsdale. So we got access to Camelback Mountain, which is close by, and the views of that are always awesome. And then if you're going out to the East Valley, you got the Superstition Mountains. You obviously got the McDowell Mountains up in Scottsdale and everything that's going on up there. All the stuff that's going on in the West Valley as well. I'm trying to remember all the mountain ranges. Some of them are slipping my mind right now, but you do have so many communities that offer there's some really cool environments when it comes to mountain views. And it's just not something that living in Phoenix is known for, but a lot of people are surprised when they come out here and they actually have that available to them. All right, let's also talk about some potential surprises from a negative side. And that is the sun and the heat are very expensive. And, look, just being in the heat is a challenge in general. A lot of people know what to expect when coming out and dealing with our summers, but you might not kind of really take into account all the things of how it affects you from a financial perspective, as well as the physical side and the mental side of it all together. Because most people understand that you're going to have like a higher electric bill cost and your utility costs are going to go up. But when you factor in the sun damage of everything and you think about all the things that you need to do to protect anything that sits outside and has direct sun exposure, and I think about all the things we have in our yard as far as having the patio furniture and covers and everything. And I'm sure, look, people who deal with winters have to protect their stuff as well in the wintertime. So maybe that's not too much different, but you really have to think about that, because a lot of people are like, hey, it's just outside, it's sitting in the sun, no big deal. But you do have to protect that. Thinking about pool costs for people who are trying to figure out what to do, because that's the other cost that you have to think about is, what are you going to do during the summer to enjoy yourself as a family? So all the things that you need to do as far as having memberships to get out of the heat during the summer, what your pool costs and all the upkeep and that type of thing. So there's a lot of things that you got to think about that you have to factor in when it comes to the cost of living that the sun and the heat really have a big effect on. So just make sure you put all that on paper before you make the move out here, so you know what you're up against. Now, let me talk about a positive one, and that is Northern Arizona is a huge, huge blessing. And it's one of the massive reasons why people can really, put up with some of the summers here, because we have so many places around Arizona to go up and explore and really have a different environment. And, when you think about being able to go from your home around Phoenix and head up north and be in Flagstaff in about 2 hours, that's fantastic. You can do the same thing with going to places like Prescott. You could go to Sedona. You can go up into the White Mountains, up to Pine Top, Sholo area. That's going to be a 3 to 4 hour drive getting up there from the Phoenix area. You go to Payson. I'm trying to think of, Pine and Strawberry. Like, my family and I have gone up to Pine and Strawberry, are just like 15, 20 minutes past Payson, and you can get up into the forest up there. And that's probably the quickest trip. We can be up in Pine and Strawberry in about an hour and a half. And so we have taken some trips up there just to kind of get out of the heat as a family. There's a lot of awesome places to explore. And I haven't even been to a ton of places, or as many places as I should for as long as I've lived here. But take advantage if you're going to be here and know all the things that Northern Arizona is going to offer you, from just a thing that just like unplug and get out of the day-to-day grind when it comes to the summers here and be a part of nature in a positive way. All right, here's one from a potential negative point of view, and that is the heat and sports don't mix to me. And what I mean by that is, when I took a couple trips this summer, one was over to Minneapolis to go visit family. We got to go to a Twins game. Going to a Twins game is night and day different from going to a Diamondbacks game when you're heading to downtown Phoenix and you're going to Chase Field. I don't know, they might have changed the name, but like going into like an indoor baseball stadium that's huge, and then during the regular season, you know, barely anybody shows up and you got 10,000 fans in an empty stadium that's indoors. It's such a different environment than being able to go to like a really cool park, like what Minneapolis has and that type of thing. That was a huge for me. And also I got a chance to visit Washington this year. And actually, just a few weeks ago, we went to the Washington-Oregon game. Going up to a Washington-Oregon game during that like time of year and like experiencing that versus going to like a Sun Devils game down here, again, night and day difference. If you go to like an ASU game here in Tempe when the season starts, it's like miserable. Like the heat is just no fun to be in. And these games like start at like 7 at night when the sun goes down, and it's still just miserable outside. And then they start even having some games, you know, during the day. And again, like we're in November right now, you could have like October had some days that hit like close to 100. And so if you have any day games and you got 100 degrees, like you do not want to be out sitting in the stands when it's that hot. And it just doesn't feel, the atmosphere feels completely different than what you typically find at some other areas. And so when I think about that, it's just not a good mix for me. So I'm a much bigger fan of going and enjoying sporting events, and even thinking about like if your kids are like junior high or high school and they're in the fall and they're going out for football or they're doing anything outside, it's just not the same environment as what you have in other areas. And so for me, not a good mix, the heat and sports here. All right, this one is important for people to know, and that is not everyone is going to want a pool. There is definitely a misconception that if you're living here, like number one, like everybody has a pool, because that's not true. And number two, that you absolutely need a pool. And that is one of the first big questions that I'm tend to ask people when they're moving here is like, do you really want a pool? Because everybody thinks they want one until they have to think about the cost of owning one, and also the maintenance and how much they're going to use it. And one of the first things I ask people is like, are you going to be here during the summer? Because if you're somebody who's like, hey, I'm going to come here and then I'm going to check out, I'm going to, be traveling, you don't want a pool. You don't need a pool. Like pools are for to give yourself a break during the summer. I mean, if you want to, some people will have a heater and they'll heat their pool all year long. That's great. Like some people can do that. So there might be some times where it's, a situation where you think you're going to use it. But I find that like, unless you are a family and you've got kids that are going to be in the pool all the time, or you think you're going to be in the pool all the time just to kind of appreciate it. And look, there's a lot of people that do want that and are like, hey, that's the type of environment I want. I get that. We're going to look for that for you. But a lot of people don't need it. And you got to make sure that if you really want one, you want it for the right reasons. And it's something that you're going to appreciate, because the cost of taking care of one, the cost of actually trying to find a home with one, or the cost of putting one in is substantial, and you don't want to waste that. So let's talk through it, but not everybody needs a pool. I want everybody to know that. All right, so here's one that could be good or bad depending on your point of view, but there is a lot of pressure to stay fit here in Arizona. And I think it's a combination of, since we live in an environment where most of the time it's just warm or hot, there's very few times that like you're going to be wearing a ton of warm clothes. And so everybody is constantly like, hey, what do I need to do to stay fit? It's good. It's good from a perspective of like, hey, obviously it's always good to stay fit and kind of put you in that mindset. And you see everybody else doing what they can to get outside and exercise and enjoy themselves. Plus we have every single kind of gym membership that you could possibly imagine. There's like, I don't know, unlimited different types of gyms and classes that you can go to. So if you're looking for whatever you want from a class perspective, like Arizona and the Phoenix area has that. But, some people are tend to be lazy like me and not want to go to the gym that often, or I'll go for a little bit and then I'll be like getting tired of it. I've always enjoyed a cocktail more than I've enjoyed going to the gym most of the time. I've tried to stay fit as much as I can, especially now I'm getting older, now that I've got 2 little ones. I know that I've got to take better care of myself and do that, but I know I need some work too. But there is pressure around you from everybody who's like constantly staying in good shape. And it's a good thing, but some people aren't ready for that too. So just know that you're going to have that pressure once you get here. You know, here's another one. I'm going to probably go over my 10 here, but another one that I just think is kind of funny because it reminds me of like when we're talking about what, you know, the opportunity to wear warm clothing. One of the things I find that is entertaining here is that when we get into December, January, and our temperatures get to like 60 degrees during the day, maybe they'll go to like 40 at night, but it's like 60 degrees, 40 at night. Like everybody wears like clothes like they're in the snow, and like, or not everybody, but you'll just see, you'll kind of walk around your neighborhood in the morning. I'll go out with like shorts and a t-shirt when it's like 50 degrees because it's beautiful outside. It's probably, I think 65 is my favorite, like in sunny, 60 and sunny is probably my favorite temperature, which makes 120 hard for me. But when people have that, you'll see people with like hats and their ears covered and like warm, like super thick coats and stuff like that. And like, it's just kind of funny that people acclimate so much to the heat that they start thinking that 60 degrees is cold or even 50 degrees. So it's entertaining from people who are coming from the freezing temperatures to come out here, and you'll be like, what are people doing? But you find that a lot. People out here long enough, they think that starts to get cold and they'll dress like that. All right, last one on my list today, and I think I want you guys to remember this, and this is probably important for anywhere you go, but you know, if you stop and take the time to stop and talk to somebody when you're here, and I think that you will find that there are so many great people here. And it's funny because I find, you know, people who are out here visiting, they're great at this. Like people who are thinking about making the move here, they're going to come out, they go and sit down at some of the restaurants, some of the bars, and they'll just start talking to people, and they want to know like what it's like to live here. And they do a good job of just like taking the time to stop and talk to people. I hear so many great stories when people are going through that, and they start telling me like, hey, Greg, we sat down and we just you know, started a conversation with somebody who was sitting next to us, and they told us about where they came from, and they've been out here for this amount of time, and we really connected and had so many things in common. And you really do have that, because look, I've got my phone in front of me right here. Our phones are our worst enemies, and so many people are just dialed into their phone. I complain all the time, like when I'm going to like the store, I'm going to Costco. That's one thing that I think of all the time. And everybody's got their heads down. Nobody wants to even look at people half the time because they're just so dialed into what they're doing, and they just don't want to be connected with anybody. And it's just like, look up and like say hello and talk to people. There's so many great people here. You can get jaded by some of the comments because all the keyboard warriors and all the people who get on, you know, all the other social media pages and just talk a bunch of crap about everything. It's like everybody's so negative behind their screen, and they, you know, there's a lot of negative comments, that type of thing. Do not worry about that. Get out here, talk to people, and you'll find that there's amazing people from all over the place, and they'll like telling their story, and just be open and engaging with them. I need to do that more as well. Trust me, I need to do it more often. You kind of get caught in your daily stuff, but it's just a good opportunity. So I just want to communicate that to you guys, because there really are a lot of great people here, and I want you to take the chance and take the opportunity to say hello if you're coming out and really trying to figure out if Arizona is right for you. All right, so let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Let me know if you have anything to add. Let me know if you disagree on any of that. I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. If you guys have any questions, make sure to reach out to us. I'm going to leave another video here that hopefully could be helpful for you if you're looking to make the move here. And again, we love helping every single one of you. So give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back. Till the next video, we'll catch you later.